the way full circle. We see the story, we understand the plan. This 90-day game plan, 3190, 90-day game plan. This is the focus on doing. In my experience, as I said, this is the missing piece. So if you take the time and you work with your mentor, I recommend that you break down a 90-day game plan into these following categories. We've got a daily activity calendar. I'm a sales-based learner, so this is where I go immediately. This, in my opinion, is the missing piece. But with that comes balance, because if I'm sitting here saying you need to be doing X number of activities every single day, or your mentor is telling you that you need to be doing that, you need balance, because if you're not comfortable with those activities, if it's going to take some skill building, some experience in this kind of sales, sales funnel, all of this that we're talking about, slow it down a bit. You have to find balance with all of this. Daily activity calendar is what money generating activities are you going to do every day to reach your goals. Focus on those key steps to the sales process: generating leads, growing your database, setting appointments, closing deals, getting referrals. That's the basic process. So what daily activity? If you can work with your mentor, and I know that's a lot, it's a huge question. It may take many sessions with your mentor to work through this, but it is so critical. If you have goals, you need to create a daily activity calendar. You have to know what you're going to do every single day to reach success in your business. Then I have what's called a weekly training calendar. There's so much training going on at eXp. It's important that you don't get too deep into this. That's what happens if you do, you end up getting what we call analysis paralysis. So you're in these classes, whether it be eXp University, agent training through Workplace, or through their training systems. You're going to see training everywhere. If you get too caught up in the learning and the creating and the, oh, I'm going to be an expert in social media, whatever it is, that's awesome. That is that balance. You have to learn, you have to grow. That's the excitement. That's why we're here. But make sure you are putting attention on that daily activity, because although it's not the most fun things for all of us, I like cold calls. I think it's fun, but it's not fun for everybody. So make sure that you are setting it up now. Don't look back in 90 days and still be doing the same activities that you're doing today. Lastly is the monthly goal counter. This is all about accountability, your check-in session with your mentor. Are you reaching your goals, and do you need to change up your daily activities to be able to reach your goals? All right, I had time cues. Clearly, I didn't stick to them. I'll tell you that this Real Estate 101 class is fairly new to me. This is something that I kind of took over. It used to be something different, but I want to create this. I want to help every single one of you create your 90-day game plan. What are you going to do in the next 90 days? Because if you look up and you're still feeling how you do today, 180 or 1 year later, you have a lower likelihood of reaching your goals and finding success in your business. Take it 90 days at a time, but really put the focus in, ask the questions, have the conversations. If you're not sure where to take it from here, that's not a problem. Please reach out. Let's keep the conversation going. Real Estate 101 is live in eXp World on Sundays right here. We're also on Workplace. So join that Workplace group if you're not on there already. I'm going to start doing weekly posts. So I want to put an agent success series on there. I want you to hear from agents that are brand new, that are taking these steps, creating this plan. What are they doing? What are conversations they're having? What are strategies they're implementing? Let's talk about, talk to mentors. Let's see what mentors and team leaders, what is their 90-day plan? Because remember, there's no one size fits all. We need to work and need to expand and need to learn and build on skills and really get down to the day-to-day activity. What are you going to be doing? All right, so let me help. I really want to help. I want to help you find success in your real estate business. It absolutely starts with a plan. So let me know what I can do to help you next. All right, so every week here live in class, we're going to have a guest speaker. Jay, are you up on stage with me here, Jay?
Yep, right
Awesome.
next to you.
Too many screens going here closely. I appreciate you being here. So let me, before I turn over the microphone here to you, Jay, let me remind everybody, when we have these special guest speakers, let me go back to our key to success number 2. So every week, my plan is to have a speaker come in here and either talk about daily activities, those strategies that you can implement, or they're going to talk about these high level concepts of real estate. So what are those training series that you can get into in different classes where you can increase your knowledge and start figuring out, where are you going to take your business? What are some of those next lines of strategy and of game planning? Maybe we'll talk about some monthly goals, some of that mindset, some of that accountability that is needed. So this week, I'm happy to have Jay in here with us. Jay is one of our awesome mentors, one of our awesome trainers. He's a great eXp agent, so I'm happy to have him here. He has a session today going to be talking about mortgage basics for real estate agents. So again, that's part of that weekly training. What are you going to be doing? What are these different areas? This is a potential area that you can start looking into, that you can, reach out to Jay to collaborate and build upon. So I'm excited to have him up here. I'm going to turn it over to you, Jay. If you need me to help with the screen sharing, I can. Maybe I'm not the right person for it, seeing as how I couldn't get Canva to share with my Google Slides. Next week, I won't have my comments up as we go. But I'm happy to turn it over, Jay. Everybody reach out to me. Let's continue this conversation. We'll have a few minutes at the end for Q&A. I'll turn it over to Jay now. Thank you, Jay.
Hey, Ryan, do you have my slides up right now, or should I just go
I
through it on
don't.
myself?
If you want to give a quick intro, I'm happy to drop them in there for you. Or if you
No
have them,
worries. No
drop
worries.
them on there real quick.
Yeah, let me do this. So
Cool.
really quickly, everybody. So first of all, happy Sunday, everyone. I know Sunday is 6 p.m. here in my time, California. For some of you guys who are, attending this class throughout the U.S., obviously, it might be even 9 o'clock your time right now. So appreciate everybody showing up. Ryan, thank you for the intro. And dude, I don't remember you wearing flip-flop the last time we were at the leadership meeting, but the next time I'm wearing flip-flop too. All right, folks. I'm not sure if everybody know how to work the screen, so let me just kind of go through that really quickly here before so we don't miss any good information here. So at the very top of your screen right now, if you're inside the world, eXp world, at the very top, you should see a button labeled Screen Zoom. If you go ahead and click on that, you will have a couple of options. It will say left screen, middle screen, or main screen, right screen, and then of course main and stage and whatnot. Go ahead and click on the main screen. That's where everything is going to be thrown onto. All right, give me 1 second. Let me see if I can load up the slides here. Give me 1 second. It's still loading up right now. Well, meanwhile, it's loading up. I saw a lot of people here who are saying that they're half here and they're half, half of you guys are out there already have your mentor. The other half are still waiting for mentors. The mentorship program is a great support system for especially new agents. I noticed that the majority of us here are from brand new to this business. So definitely take advantage of what the mentorship program offers, and certainly at the same time also take advantage of also the Fast Start program as well. The mentorship program and the Fast Start program are actually two separate components of eXp. Inside of the mentorship program, we actually have another whole set of courses that is available through MindFlash for you to take as well as a mentee. There's a series of classes, and you have to go through that in order to be able to graduate from the mentorship program. That's something I'll touch on another time. But right now, I just want to jump into this as far as what we're covering today. As Ryan mentioned, today we're going to be covering mortgage basic. Let me just first and foremost say that this class is not going to make you a loan officer. So let me start very first thing. So please do not think that after you take this class, you'll be able to walk out of here and start quoting loans and whatnot. There's a whole licensing part of it. There's some classes and license requirements that you need to go through before you can actually quote and have even a in-depth discussion on mortgage. My intention today is just to make sure that you have a good overview of what the loan process looks like in conjunction with the real estate purchase transaction process. Okay, some of you guys are haven't even done a transaction yet, so this would be a good time to at least get a slight overview of what that looks like, so that when you move forward, at least you would have the right questions in your head to be able to ask. Because a lot of times, what I find with newer agents is that they don't even know what they should be asking, and that's really the goal here today with especially Real Estate 101 and all in the entire series here. Right. With that being said, if you're looking on your screen right now, we can get there. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit on top of what Ryan just mentioned. So again, I am an eXp certified mentor here with eXp Realty. I'm also an Intralend preferred lender as well. And what Intralend is an actual part of eXp. It's actually a separate company from eXp Realty, but it is owned by eXp World Holding. So we're sister companies. I happen to be a Intraland preferred lender on the other side as well. So we're here to make sure that we help all agents, experienced, intermediate, or advanced agents, to understand that there are tools and systems and things in place that, as the counterpart to eXp Realty, we're here to make sure that you have all the right tools so that you can better service your clients. So a little bit about me: I am a real estate broker. I am also a mortgage broker, an insurance broker as well. And of course, my various other background in terms of real estate, finance, investments, specialist, commercial, and whatnot. All those caters through, and my main focus really is real estate investments and real estate finance. And as you can imagine, when we're talking about real estate investments, the finance component of it, it's an automatic thing. You can't really have a discussion about real estate investments without the finance component to it. So that's a little bit about me. Been in the business for about 18 years. I've been now with eXp for about almost a year at this point in time. And frankly, best company ever, period. I used to run my own brokerage previous to coming to eXp. So this is definitely a change. But I was fortunate enough to be able to take many of my team members from my previous brokerage, move them over to eXp. And now we have basically a amped up mortgage brokerage inside of a brokerage. So phenomenal setup. On the screen right now, if you're looking at the middle screen right now, you will see that this is the basic outline. If you are familiar with something called the eXp Workplace, marketing workplace, you will see the same graph on the right-hand side of that screen right now, where it outlines the basic 8 steps of the purchase transaction. Now, again, we're focusing mainly on the purchase right now because we're talking about conjunction with how that ties into the loan side of it. The other part is that even if you were not working on a purchase transaction, frankly, let's say if you were the listing agent, it would still be of great benefit to you as well. Especially because I think from the standpoint of you representing the seller, you would want to know what the buyer would have to encounter and anticipate any potential pitfall throughout the transaction, even if you're representing the seller. Okay, so let me start off by saying that in most cases, when you're representing a buyer or seller, you're likely going to deal with a mortgage component to it. Overwhelmingly, the majority of all real estate transaction, buyer or seller representation, you're going to deal with the mortgage part of it somewhere in the middle. Although we are starting to see lately, as maybe the last few months, more and more cash buyer coming into play. But no matter what happens going forward, as the market continues to change, you're still going to see that there's still a huge demand for financing. And so it's almost very difficult to not talk about financing, whether you represent the buyer or the seller in any transaction previously, now, or into the future. So just know that I think it's very important that we understand how the mortgage steps and how they integrate into the actual purchase transaction. So the little graphic that you see right there on the right side of the slide, again, very simple. Meet your real estate professional. I mean, that's you guys right there. Get a pre-approval. Now, there's actually another part of that, and I'll dive into that in the later slide. It's called Pre-Qualification, and I'll explain the difference in a few minutes here. But get pre-approved, or at least your client get pre-approved. Then, of course, once they get pre-approved, you take them out, do the home search thing, find the right property, make an offer. Once the offer is submitted, then of course we will begin the actual negotiation process. Hopefully the buyer and seller come to a mutual agreement on the terms of the purchase. And then of course we go into escrow. And as we go through escrow, that's when the underwriting process and the loan and everything will actually kick in. And that's, again, another later slide. Once everything is done, the buyer does their inspection and figure out, if the property is right for them, make sure that they do their due diligence. Parallel to that, on the mortgage side, we have the actual lender, underwriter, and whatnot working in a unit to try to also move along with the loan side as well. Hopefully, once within about 3-4 weeks down into the process, we get to the point where we get to the actual closing, and that's where the actual buyer would then sign the actual final closing documents. Then, of course, we have the closing itself. Now, with that being said, today's focus is not the actual buying process. That in general is something that we discuss almost on a daily basis. As a mentor myself, that's frankly something I discuss almost every other day with our mentees. But just know that today it's going to be where we're going to be covering. Oops. All right, I see somebody here said that the slides are blank. Is anybody else able to see the slide right now? Don't see it? Okay.
We see them.
Okay, so for those that can't see the slide, just do me a favor, just hit refresh. The refresh button is in the upper right-hand corner. It's right next to the magnifying glass with a plus sign in it. It should refresh your screen. Okay, all right, cool. All right, moving on to the next one. As I was saying, two very main things that everybody always get confused, especially as newer agents, pre-qualification versus pre-approval. This is a very important subject. As a lender, I get agents, and frankly, not just new agents, but even experienced agents, using the two words interchangeably. It's not the same. Let me just be very clear about that. Two very, very different things. Let me start off with the more simple one, the pre-qualification. If you look at the chart right in front of you right there, under the pre-qualification, under benefits, yeah, it gives us an idea what the number should be for the potential buyer to move along to at least, start looking at a price range, hopefully, what they think they may be able to afford. The process providing information, or what we use to be able to determine what the pre-qualification is really more of a questionnaire than an actual vetting of the paperwork and qualification of the buyer. Okay. The next part here is that right below that, as you can see there, we do run a credit check on the pre-qualification. But again, there's a lot of stuff that we don't dig into to legitimately actually give something called either an underwriting pre-approval or an actual fee or a full-out pre-approval. And the next column on the right side, this is the comparison here. This is why this is very important, especially in today's market as it is right now. Frankly, nobody. Now, I have, whether you're in California, you're in Texas, you're in Florida, or any other state, this is going to apply pretty much anywhere you go. The stuff that we're going to be talking about throughout today's hour here, you will see that it's going to be applicable in any state, anywhere at this point in time. Okay, so as far as pre-qualification, pre-approval, you absolutely need a pre-approval. And let's dive into what a pre-approval is. A pre-approval, absolutely, you go through it. We collect all your paperwork. We do, of course, the credit check. We collect the pay stubs. We collect the bank statements. We verify where the money is for the down payment. We also make sure that you actually have a job, meaning the buyer, that is, has a job. We make sure that if there's any issues with credit, we can also advise them on how to perhaps clean it up a little bit before we actually go into full underwriting. But in short, a pre-approval is a very thorough investigation of the buyer's qualification. We require all the same paperwork when the same thing that would be needed to actually go into a full underwriting. So pre-approval, the best way that I can phrase it is really like a pre-underwriting approval rather than a pre-qualification. So as far as the main difference, as you can imagine, since the pre-qualification doesn't really collect all the paperwork other than just running the credit check, versus the pre-approval, which actually does collect tax return, pay stubs, bank statements, et cetera, all those items are very critical in establishing a true, clear picture of the borrower/buyer's true qualification. So absolutely, these days, especially if you're going, and as competitive it is right now, if you were to try to help the client submit an offer, if you submit a pre-qualification, the seller and the seller's agent will completely dismiss your offer, simply because it just doesn't hold a lot of water in terms of the thoroughness of the borrower's qualification versus a pre-approval. So as new agents, I frankly, and it's not just in this particular market, but even for the past 10 years, I don't even use pre-qualification at all. I just skip to the chase and just get a pre-approval. That way, that when you're working with the client, driving them around for hours, showing them, 10, 20, 40, 50 houses at that point in time, that they're absolutely qualified and you're not spinning your wheel doing absolutely nothing. Okay, so definitely focus on getting the pre-approval. Later on, Ryan's going to send out for everybody here a copy or sample of the pre-approval so that people here can go through it on your own. On going through the next slide here, the steps to a perfect loan. Now, in an ideal world, this is a very standard thing, but the truth of the matter is, it's not going to work quite like this. But at the end of it, the essence is this: get somebody to fill out a mortgage application. These days, most mortgage applications are done online, and I'll share with you in a little bit what that looks like. So most applications are done online. Doesn't matter big or small bank or brokerages, they're all done online pretty much at this point in time. Very rarely do I actually see pen to paper, and I haven't really have seen it probably in about 5 or 6 years at this point in time at least. The next thing here is, of course, once they get the mortgage application in, get that pre-approval, not a pre-qualification, but pre-approval, then we as lender will hand over the pre-approval to you as the buyer's agent. You go out there and help them shop. Once they're ready, we will provide you something called a pre-approval package for the borrowers, and that way, when you submit it, you'll be able to go ahead and present the whole offer, the real estate purchase agreement, along with the actual pre-approval package to establish how well qualified your borrowers are. And I'll go over that and what that looks like in their slide. Executing the contract. That's when I'm talking about executing the contract, we're referring to the offer. And then the next one, of course, is once we have the contract in place, it means now we have escrow. Then we go into the next step, which is where we get something called the conditional approval. And that's when we have an accepted offer. We gather all the paperwork. Then we put the whole package together. We send it over to the bank's underwriting department to get the loan actually fully pre-approved. Then, as we go through the conditional review process and whatnot, we'll ultimately reach the closing. Now, I'll break this all down further yet here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so now, with that being said, the previous slide, as I was sharing with you, that's just the basic 5-step breakdown of what it looks like going through the actual purchase process, and a very, very simplified version of that at best. What I'm showing you now on your screen right now, this is the actual underwriting processing, the loan process, so to speak, as far as how we go through the process and looking how to qualify borrower, because we're looking from the lender standpoint. This is what we're going to be looking at here. So number one, again, going back to the previous slide, taking the application from an online portal or even in person through or just pen on paper and sending it via mail. Whatever the case is, we get that application in. And then the next step would be number two, we issue the actual pre-qualification. But like I said before, it really should be a pre-approval. Some lender will offer, I know a lot of the bigger banks will offer a pre-qualification in lieu of a pre-approval. Again, if you submit a pre-qualification letter along with your offer in your offer package, likely the seller is probably not going to take you too seriously. So definitely shoot for a pre-approval with any bank, any lender you work with. Number three, once we issue the pre-qualification, now we skip this step here because keep in mind that the pre-qualification is just running credit check. So that's why you see number three here, where it says gather your documents, meaning the buyer's documents, bank statements, pay stubs, tax return, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Again, those items are usually gathered before a pre-approval. So if we are doing a pre-approval, technically what ends up happening is we will go from step one, directly get the pre-approval, and then jump into step four. Okay, so what you see there was step 1, 2, and 3 on this particular slide here. It actually covers the step of the actual pre-qualification. Again, I don't recommend that, especially in this market. Focus on getting the pre-approval, taking you from step 1 directly to step 4 for the home search. Find a home, get them under a contract. Once we have an accepted contract, accepted offer by buyer and seller, then that's when everything really gets started. Escrow opens. The lender starts to collect all the additional information to go ahead and get it all and package it or process it to be able to put it into the underwriting department so that they can go ahead and begin the actual underwriting process to review and verify all the additional information they need to. So that's what step 5 and 6 is. Now, during step 5 and 6, we're also looking to order third-party services. What does that mean? As you may know, when most buyer buy a home, not all in all cases, the majority of all home purchase will require an appraisal, especially if the down payment isn't substantial. By substantial, I mean 30, 40, 60% down. Usually anything between 20% down or less usually will require an appraisal. That's where step 5 and 6 comes in. So we'll be doing the appraisal. And if there's an HOA or maybe a townhome complex like that, we'll be also ordering the HOA documents and whatnot, the CC&Rs. And then also we'll be working in conjunction with this whole time. The buyer's also there, doing their home inspection and doing various other inspection, electrical inspection, whatever inspection they need to do, their due diligence at that time concurrent while we are working on the underwriting part of it. If you jump over to number 7, we have the underwriting process. Underwriting process, it's where you get something called the conditional approval. You might have already started to hear that at this point in time already. So a conditional approval is not the same thing as a pre-approval or a final approval. There's actually several approval stages throughout the actual underwriting process for a loan. So the pre-approval is just to basically verify that the buyer does qualify for X amount of dollar on the loan so that they can go out there and shop. Once they get into escrow, we go into underwriting. Then the next step would be something called a conditional approval when they submit all the required documentation to be able to meet all the items to be able to get the final approval. So it goes pre-approval, conditional approval, and then once all the items are checked off and the underwriting is satisfied with all the information provided, then we move to something called final approval. Now the final approval is what you see in number 8 and 9 there, where it's basically we're at a point now where you receive something called a clear to close, and then we can begin the closing process. So as you can see, the underwriting process in itself for the mortgage part of it is quite complex. And this is just a bird's eye view of what it looks like. There's many more steps that comes into play. But again, I'm not here to talk about how to become a loan officer. This is just to give you a good idea of what it required to be able to get a better understanding of how to maybe hopefully explain to your client the actual procedural process with the loan process, along with the actual home purchase process, because you really cannot answer or assist your client very well if you don't understand the steps required throughout the loan process. I guarantee you, when you're working with a client, your clients are probably going to be stressed out enough where, even if you tell them half the stuff, they may not even remember it. So it's really up to you to make sure that you know what you're talking about, to make sure you make them feel comfortable to lead them through the process. And the better you understand the basic fundamental steps that takes place as we go through the loan process, the more effective you are, because now you can keep them calm as well. Okay. All right, jumping over to the next screen here. What you're looking at here, this is the mortgage application. As of March 1st, 2021, there's been an update to the mortgage application. So what you're seeing on the left side of the screen right now, that is what the actual paper form would look like at this point in time. It's known as a Uniform Residential Loan Application, or a technical term, a Form 1003. Now, that's what it would look like. In most cases, most of your customers are not going to see that. Most of your customers are going to do, whether you go to Bank of America or Chase or Success Lending or Intralend or our company, whatever company you go to, you're probably going to see something more like on the right side, where it's really just a website. And so as a borrower would click through and get, for example, here, if you look at the screen that you see on the right side, it says click to start. If they click on that, they'll start the application process. It's going to look nothing like the one on the left, although that's the one on the left is actually the legal form, and all loan documents and all loan application has to appear in that format on the left. On the right side, what we do, and pretty much all lenders do, we will ask the question on the website. As the borrower enters the information in, it would actually transplant and move that information over to the form, produce a form that looks like something on the left side for us. And that's what we use to underwrite the loan. Okay, so just know that right now, overwhelmingly, all loans are done online.